and thanks for being here today. I thought I'll spare you a PPT, so I have no PPT with me. I have content. So let us start off with the fundamental aspect of technology. Now, we are living in an unprecedented time where our competition is not just with fellow human beings. While we are close to 7.5 billion people on the surface of Earth, our competition is not with carbon. Our competition is with silicon and germanium, more importantly. And hence, I would like to advocate a few important aspects of how one could lead life, what role education can play in leading a more meaningful life, and how can we go about being more productive as a species. The first submission which I have for all of you is the fact that humans are the agents of creation. Now, if you go to Agra, and the Vice President of US recently visited Agra, and same was the case with Pervez Musharraf, who visited Agra a couple of months after Kargil. So when you visit Agra, certainly you're not really perturbed about who managed the Taj Mahal. But what you're really concerned about is who created Taj Mahal close to 400 years back. Same applies to present the organizations. You will be remembered for what you create and not what you manage. And I'll give you a simple example of this air condition. All of you understand that there is air condition in this room? Now, when do you know that there is air condition? You know air condition when it stops working. Which means most management is known by its absence, not by its presence. Till the things are working fine, you're not even noticed. But the moment things starts breaking down, suddenly you pop up. It's like the marshals on the aircraft. The air marshals are invisible to us till an incident happens. And suddenly these air marshals on the aircraft pop up from nowhere and they handle. So if you want to be meaningful in your life, my first recommendation to all of you is that try to be more creative on a daily basis. Now, what I mean by being creative is not that you have to invoke the soul of an Albert Einstein or an Isaac Newton, which is a good thing to do, but what we need to understand is that even Albert Einstein and Isaac Newton were mere mortals like most of us. If I dip deep into somebody like an Isaac Newton's father was called Isaac Newton. He was a farmer, and Isaac Newton's parents divorced when he was 4 years old. And Newton was brought up by his maternal grandfather. His father married another lady who had another 3 children, and the biggest objective of Isaac Newton till he was 18 years old was to kill his father and his mother. And by the age of 22, Isaac Newton was already at the Trinity College, Cambridge University. At 23, we had the Great Plague in London, which pushed him back to his hometown. And by the age of 24, he had invented calculus. He had discovered the laws of gravitation. He had understood optics. And from age of 24 till his death in 84, he spent time in what we today call as chemistry, then called as alchemy. Now, the reason I'm talking about somebody like an Isaac Newton, even 450 years after his death, is because he was a man of creation. 200 years before Isaac Newton, we had Da Vinci. Da Vinci was born to a prostitute who was 16 years old. Though his biological father was an accountant, but because he was born to a prostitute, nobody wanted to own him up, and that gave him the creative freedom to create art forms that you and me are talking about. A person who was 24 years his junior was commissioned to paint the Sistine Chapel at Rome. His name is Michelangelo. Fast forward to another person who was born in a place called Erode in Tamil Nadu. And he was born to a family where the father was a sari seller and the mother was a homemaker. Nobody in the family was educated. And he went to Cambridge University, became the first Indian to be an FRS, Fellow of the Royal Society, the first Indian to be a part of the Trinity College, where he was a fellow, and he died at the age of 35. And I'm talking about Srinivasa Ramanujan, one of the greatest mathematicians of this country. So what I want to offer to all of you is that we are living in a far more sophisticated life than any of the people I spoke to you about, any of them. Ramanujan was said to be died with some infectious diseases because when he was in Cambridge, he was a vegetarian. When he was in Cambridge between 1914 and 1916, which was the overlapping year of the First World War, 1914 to 1918, he could not cook anything. and as a result, he got a lot of severe infections. When he came back to India, he succumbed to death. We are living in a far more comfortable society. We are living in a far more respectable time. And our understanding of war is only through Twitter and social media. Our understanding of death happens only through reels. And I think we are spoiled for choices. What I'm trying to offer to all of you is the fact that people before us created things that we are sitting enjoying in this room, like the creation of Thomas Edison, which is in the form of bulb, or Faraday's invention in the form of electricity. The question that I have for all of you is that what are you creating for the next 100 years? Because the people who created the stuff that we are enjoying right now are not around for us to thank them. Many of us not even aware of who these people were. But they went through the extreme hardships that you and me can't even imagine to give us something. So if on a daily basis you are not spending your time creating stuff, then believe me, you are nothing but a machines with emotions. Or worse still, an animal which is a machine. Now these statements may be hard coming to you early in the day, but I think I'm totally sold to the fact that with AI coming in, our existence on the surface of Earth is highly questionable. Highly questionable. And we think we have to save the world. Let me tell you, 99.99% of all the species which ever existed on the surface of Earth are extinct. So will we be. And if we only are extinct, the Earth may be breathing a little bit easy, and the first species to come back would be the flora. So let us not give ourselves any undue sense of self-importance. If you are busy from morning till evening signing checks, motivating people, or worse still, monitoring their performance, I think you are in a very, very tight spot. You might be tolerated at best, wished away. Now, what is the role of the teacher then? I believe that the fundamental role of a teacher is not to educate. The fundamental role of a teacher is to create a learning environment in the class so that the child learns. So instead of trying to bring yourself to the position that I ought to educate you, which also puts you under pressure that I ought to know more than you in the world of social media, chat, GPT, and what have you, I think a teacher is completely mistaken that she needs to be a knowledge bank. No, teacher is not a knowledge bank. Teacher is a torch. Teacher shines the light on that spot that deserves attention. That's all. She's just trying to create a learning environment in the class, and most students learn by themselves. If that was not the case, then I'm very sure about it that somebody in William Shakespeare's English class would have written prose. It is not the undoing or the doing of William Shakespeare's English teacher, but it is that of William Shakespeare's. Which means that as a teacher, let us be humble. There are many teachers, there are many administrators sitting in the room, but let me tell you one thing, that your role is not to force children to be in the class. Your role is to create a magnetism in the class. And the way you create the magnetism is to incite curiosity and not by imparting knowledge. A child can learn far more than what you have learned by herself, provided she knows where to look for it. And that is what I mean by the role of a teacher, which is curiosity. So the point number one is, at a personal level, you need to indulge in the activity of creativity. Humans are the agents of creation. And if you're not doing creativity on a daily basis, I think we are living a less than fulfilling life. The second aspect is empathy. Empathy means compassion. What machines cannot take away from us yet, in my humble opinion, is empathy. Machines can be sympathetic, but machines cannot be empathetic. And in a given day, if you realize that you don't have time for empathizing with people, then what's the whole point? What's the point of doing all of this? We need to be empathetic with fellow human beings. And I'm not saying empathy in terms of the reels that you may be sharing or liking on the wake of the recent Pahalgam episode. That's not empathy. That is sympathy. That's not empathy. Empathy means feeling somebody's pain proactively. So a teacher without empathy is like a flower without smell. A teacher full of knowledge is a flower which is very thorny, looks attractive from a distance, but the moment you approach that flower, you are bitten, stung by it. So creativity and empathy are the currency of the future. Three simple tips I would like to offer to all of you before I walk out in terms of how can you be more creative on a daily basis. And I'm hoping all of you are taking notes, if not physically, at least mentally. And that's the reason I don't use PPTs, because the moment I put a PPT, your attention is on the PPT, which you will hope I'll give it to you. And that was the last time you saw the PPT, even if I give it to you. I do not know what happens to those PPTs. I'm just not confident on the PPT business anymore. Okay? If PPT is the hero, you are the villain. If there is no PPT, people listen to you, people pay attention to what you're doing. It's just a simple hint on how you need to conduct your class. Instead of spending time in beautifying your PPT, beautify yourself. Instead of spending time in embellishing it, embellish yourself. You are the content. You don't have content. You are the content. There is nothing else in the world. You learn not through your mind, you learn through your body. Any sort of a learning is a visceral exercise. It's not an intellectual exercise. And that's the reason when you drive a car, you drive the car not intellectually. You drive the car viscerally with your entire body. And you have no idea what is the Newton of force you are exerting on the pedal, what is the angle that you are rotating the wheel at, and what is the force which is acting. But you're just about doing it while talking to somebody, if not doing a microsurgery on the sides. That's called multitasking. So again, coming back to three tips. Point number one, be creative. Point number two, have empathy in your life. And point number three, be an agent of curiosity, not the epitome of knowledge. You will always be chasing new knowledge. Don't worry about that. Don't even try to be a dictionary or the encyclopedia. What you need to be is the spark. Better still, the analogy is a torch. So most teachers were floodlights. Teachers now need to be spotlight. From a floodlight focus, you have to develop a spotlight focus. Instead of saying that I know it all, come and ask me, let's have a dialogue, something like a Socrates would do, which is called a Socratic style of teaching. So what Socrates was famous for was, his student, one of the most famous students was Plato. So what Socrates was famous for is that instead of answering the question, what he would do is he'll start a discourse in the class. So if somebody asks me a question, I say, what do you think about it? And in the process, Socrates appeared as foolish, but in the process of appearing as foolish, instead of pretentiously being intelligent, he created new type of knowledge. And Socrates lived 2,300 years before 25th of April, 2025. So that was Socrates for you. He lived like a beggar, but I'm still talking about him close to 2 millennia forward. Okay, so what's the point number one? The point number one for all of you about living a life which is full of creativity and which is full of empathy is to understand that you don't own much in your life and you don't owe anything to anybody. Now, this can be a very radical thought. And this is especially true for Indian diaspora. In our country, from the very childhood, we are burdened with other people's responsibilities. I need to do this for my parent, I need to do this for my society, for my country, for my culture. I think creative people are more liberal. They are more free-spirited than obliged. Because what if you're not able to do it? What if your calling in life is something else? You will be ridden with the burden. I do not think Albert Einstein or Thomas Edison or Ramanujan Sridhar did mathematics, physics and chemistry respectively for the world. They did it because that's the only thing that they love doing. So don't feel burdened by the expectations of others. Richard Feynman, the famous Nobel laureate in physics, who wrote a couple of books and was a very colorful person as such. Richard Feynman very famously said that when people expect something from me and I'm not able to deliver it, it is not my shortcoming, it is people's mistakes. Which means don't live as if you owe anybody anything. No, including your own parents. Khalil Gibran very famously said in his book called Prophet that your children are from you, not of you. They are from you, not of you. So all the parents sitting in the room, just keep this in mind that don't play God to your child. Just be good guardian. That's about it. If you can just take care that the guy doesn't get hit by a bus, I think you've done your fantastic job. Don't try to determine his career, his future, his prophecy. Don't play God, for God's sake. Khalil Gibran goes on to say that you are the archer who holds the bow steadfast but the direction of the arrow is decided by the Almighty. Your job is to hold the bow steadfast. That's about it. And I think that is exactly what a teacher ought to do. Don't determine where the student ought to go. You need to be solid. That's it. Then wherever the direction of the student is, he or she will reach there sooner than later. Who knows how many years you anyways have under the belt. You have no idea about that. So the first philosophy is that please try to live for yourself. Not selfishly. I'm not suggesting live for yourself selfishly in the sense that you go out and grab all the dessert at the lunch hour. That's what I mean. What I mean living for yourself is that live as if you have to live to your fullest potential as an obligation to your potential, not as an obligation to people's hopes from you. Because you might always be short-selling yourself to people, which is very radical, and that is where I think we need a bit of self-confidence. What Britishers did to us in their 88 years of ruling in India, which was actually 88, not even 150, is that they have robbed us of our self-confidence. What we need more than anything else is a self-confidence back. And you get your self-confidence by trying to understand that what are you capable of, what is your true calling in life, and going about it unapologetically. While Srinivasa Ramanujan was out in Cambridge, his wife was suffering here in India. I'm sure he could have come back and taken care of his wife, but I don't think we would have been speaking about a loving husband now. We're talking about a mathematician. When we had Mr. Vikram Sarabhai going to Indira Gandhi that we need money to put a spacecraft, Indira Gandhi said that there are millions of people in India dying out of hunger. Why don't you give them food first? Then think about putting a space mission. He said, no, this will happen and that will happen. Same applies to you. You may have problems in your life, and I only remember Buzz Aldrin. Buzz Aldrin, when he was the second man to step on the surface of moon, he writes in his book that when I was stepping on the surface of moon, my wife on earth was filing for divorce. He's the second man after Neil Armstrong to set foot on the surface of moon, and his wife back home. Which means that even with all the tragedies in your life which can possibly happen, you still need to follow your dream. Don't give any excuse that I am from this society, I don't have money, my father is ill. Everything has a place under the sun, and so is your ambition. That's the point number one. The point number two is that what Schopenhauer or what Friedrich Nietzsche always has said, that one who has a why to live for can bear almost anyhow. And this is what Mark Twain also very famously said, that the two most important days in your life is one, when you're born, and two, the day you know why. The day you are born and the day you know why. Unfortunately, many people go through their entire life without having the day number two. They don't have an idea of why they were born. And I'm sure it is not making more money. Because when the terrorists asked people out there in Pahalgam, it was not their bank balance which came to anybody's mind. So I don't think chasing money has to do anything with life's purpose. If at all, I think you have gotten sold into the quickery of what is called as capitalism. The second point is know your why. And how do you know your why? You know your why by not praying to God or by going to a pharmacist. You know your why by experimenting. Experiment on a daily basis. Go out and learn and try new things. And if things don't work, it's okay. And suddenly you will realize that there is something in your life in which your frequency resonates, which is called as a resonance frequency. And the moment things starts resonating, you start drawing energy from it. So, experiment wildly in your life. Experiment with the food you eat, clothes you wear, places you go, books you read, things you watch, people you meet, right outside also. You may be huddling up with your own college cluster, and I'm sure you will be leaving with the same college cluster in your own bubble, unless you try to experiment. That's the second point. The first is live for yourself. Second is experiment, and if an experiment fails, it's okay. Learn to forgive yourself. We often can forgive people quite easily, but we can't forgive ourselves easily. We often say that he can screw up, but how can I screw up? Well, you can also. You can also mess it up. And the third thing is remain spiritually anchored. What I mean by spiritual anchoring is all the people I spoke to you about, including Rabindranath Tagore, there will be a day when things would be against you. And that is where you would need to be spiritually anchored in your life. I don't equate spirituality with religion. Please don't mistake me. Religion offers answers. Spiritual asks questions. Religion is prescriptive. Spirituality is descriptive. Religion is convergent. Spirituality is divergent. Religion divides. Spirituality unites. That's the difference between spirituality and religion. And what you need to develop in your life is a spiritual anchoring. Otherwise, all the success that you would be experiencing in your life on the external front, including the awards that you'll be getting right now, you need to keep in mind that anything in life is fleeting. Because life itself is fleeting. What is not fleeting in your life is the Shankaracharya's Advaita philosophy, that you are the Brahman. In the sense that you don't have to seek anything. You don't need any embellishment in the form of these awards to tell who you are or to prove that you have arrived in your life. So if you are spiritually anchored, you will understand that if I get this award, fine. If I don't get this award, it's also okay with me. As long as I know what I'm supposed to do in my life and as long as I'm going about it, I don't think any of these things should either accelerate the progress or retard the progress. They happen by the way. Just like the plants happen by the side of the road, they just happen by the way. So I hope you will keep these 5 things in your mind. The first is the importance of creativity. The second thing is the importance of empathy. The third thing is the importance of experimentation. The fourth is living for yourself. And the fifth is being spiritually anchored. And especially for the teacher, you don't have to worry about knowing it all. Just develop curiosity in yourself and curiosity in the class. Students will do it on their own. I don't think they just need your direction. A good teacher leads from behind, not from ahead. Just be around when they fall, and I think that will get you in a good shape. So thank you so much.